Good morning, a pleasant morning to each and every one of you out there. I'm what you need. You're watching my channel. If you popped up on my channel, blessings to you. And we're about to talk some boxing. Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin de los Santos. Blessings to you. And we're about to talk some Edwin de los Santos. We're going to get into it. If you guys love boxing, you would like to hear my opinion on this fight, which is coming up right now. But before I do so, a couple of things I got to get out the way. If you want to support this channel, you can do so in the chat. You should see in the chat a link which you can support the channel. Say, you want to support the channel, click the link and it will send you to PayPal and you can donate to my account that way. The reason being, YouTube doesn't pay me for these videos. You guys pay me. I don't have any other way of getting payment because of where I am in the world. So if you like the content, if you like what I do, don't forget to support the channel. Don't forget to support me. Any amount will do. I'm just saying. All right. Second thing, if you want to hop on here as a guest, the link is also in the chat. Feel free. Pop on here and let's chop it up. It's always nice to have people come and speak, not just in the chat section, but literally to see their faces, to talk with them as people. It's much different talking to you and you seeing, I'm seeing your face, you're seeing my face. It's always awesome. Or me hearing your voice even is awesome. Okay. All right. The way how this is going to go is like this. We always start off our first video for the day on YouTube, not the other successive videos. We always start off with the first video on YouTube. If it's this channel, we start off with a piece of scripture. Most High always comes first for me. I am a Christian, so Most High comes first for me. So I'm going to start off with a piece of scripture and then we get right into the fight. Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin de los Santos. We'll talk about the biased ESPN commentary. We'll talk a little bit about my scorecard. In doing so, I'll break down round by round how I scored the rounds, why, etc. And then finally, we'll also talk about, while we're doing that, the abilities of the fighters. And we'll also talk about the reaction by the boxing public and the industry, whether that reaction is fair or not. So let's get into it. Strap your seat in. Let's talk some boxing. So we will start off first with a piece of scripture. And the scripture today comes from Luke chapter 24. And it starts off verses 35 and it goes till about 43. All right. So if you want to check it out, you can check it out. But we always like to put the Most High first. And we also like to say something that has a point to it. So hopefully this blesses your day and it will be relevant to what we're about to say about them in the boxing. So Jesus appears to the disciples. This is after he's been crucified. This is after he's died. This is after he's been buried. They see him again. That's what this story is about. So the two from Emmaus told their story of how Jesus appeared to them as they were walking along the road and how they had recognized him as he was breaking bread. And just as they were telling about it, Jesus himself suddenly was standing there among them. But before this happened, these two disciples met with the other 11 disciples. And when they arrived, the disciples greeted them with, "The Lord has really risen. He appeared to Peter." But just as, like we said, they were telling them about Jesus, he appeared suddenly standing there in the midst of them. "Peace be with you," he said. But the whole group was terribly frightened, thinking they had seen a ghost. "Why are you frightened?" he asked. "Why do you doubt who I am?" Look at my hands. Look at my feet. You can see that it's really me. Touch me and make sure I'm not a ghost. Because ghosts don't have bodies as you see I do. As he spoke, he held out his hands for them to see, and he showed them his feet. Still, they stood there doubting, filled with joy and wonder. Then he asked them, "Do you have anything to eat?" And they gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he ate it as they watched. And then he said, "When I was with you before, I told you that everything written about me by Moses and the prophets and in the Psalms must all come true." Then he opened their minds to understand these many scriptures. And he said, "Yes, it was written long ago that the Messiah must suffer and die and rise again from the dead on the third day. With my authority, take this message of repentance to all nations. Beginning in Jerusalem, there is forgiveness of sins for all who turn to me. You are witness of all these things. And now I will send the Holy Spirit, just as my Father promised. But stay here in the city until the Holy Spirit comes and fills you with power from heaven." And Jesus led them to Bethany, and lifting his hands to heaven, he blessed them. While he was blessing them, he left them and was taken up to heaven. And they worshiped him and then returned to Jerusalem, filled with great joy. And they spent all of their time in the temple, praising God. Why did I read this to you guys? Well, you know, in boxing, things that you think are impossible, things that you think, oh no, that could never happen, happens every now and then. We have been seeing upsets. In fact, on the Shakur versus Edwin de los Santos card, we actually had an upset. Robson Concercio defeated Navarrete. The upset. We knew Concercio was a good fighter, but still. So when Jesus appeared to the disciples, even though some of them actually was walking and talking with him, I didn't talk about that part, and of course revealed one of the disciples named Simon Peter, he actually saw him. Even so, they were scared, they were afraid, because he just suddenly appeared in the midst of them, right? They were talking and stuff with themselves, and they turn around to see him there. So they were afraid because they didn't expect that. What did he have to do? He made them touch him first. The nail in his hand, in his feet. He says, "Me, I'm not a ghost or anything." They were scared. And then he said, "Oh, bring something for me to eat." And he ate the thing to show, "Hey, it's me. You know how I eat. You know how I..." And then he started to break down what all of this, the Torah was saying about him, what the, other scribes and all these people were teaching in the synagogues about him. And I want to tell you guys something. Faith is not a thing that just comes. Faith is a thing that has to be built. That's why Jesus even came and he spoke to these disciples and stuff, and he showed them stuff. It's because before he came around, yeah, they knew about this promise, but they didn't have the faith. He built up their faith. And then he talks about something extra. He talks about the Holy Spirit, receiving that to get even more faith, to get that connection with him again. And we're going to go through this fight. You got to bear in mind two things. One, this fight was about expecting the impossible. And two, that's all about faith. It's all about belief. It's all about you believing that what is happening here is real. So bear those things in mind as I speak about Shakur Stevenson versus Edwin de los Santos, because this fight was in many ways a very intriguing fight for me when I watched it this morning. I didn't watch it last night. And so, unfortunately, ESPN, when dealing with this fight, the commentary in ESPN was once again very atrocious, very biased towards Shakur Stevenson. If you guys don't know, Edwin de los Santos is a PBC fighter. Okay? He's a PBC fighter. And so it was in Top Rank's interest, well, very closely tied to ESPN, that they praised Shakur because Shakur is their fighter. The A side was Shakur Stevenson. And so if you're listening to the ESPN commentary, you will think that Shakur swept this guy, shutout performance. That's not what happened. In fact, on my scorecard, the fight was a draw. That's how competitive it was. The fight ended up being a draw. So I'm going to actually go through the fight. But before I go through my scorecard, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about the abilities of both the fighters. Now, feel free to jump in at any time, to leave your comments in the chat, to come on here as a guest. And you can also add to this discussion, because this is my frame. This is my opinion. It doesn't have to be your opinion. I like people to challenge my opinions as well. I like to see people speak their opinion and back it up. So there's nothing wrong with having a different opinion to what I am about to say. But do understand, I don't just give opinions. I give opinions based on information, logic, and reasoning. Okay? Let's begin. I'm going to start from the end of the fight, and I'm going to work my way back up to the first round of the fight. Why am I starting at the end of the fight? Because it's very important to understand why I believe the judges gave the fight to Shakur Stevenson. The fight was scored by the three judges. By the way, I'm just going to talk about that right now. The fight was scored by the three judges, 115-113, showing it was a close fight, 7-5, 8-4. Two judges had it 8-4, and one judge had it 7-5. My scorecard falls outside the line of the judges, but I truly believe it was a swing round fight. 8-4 is a little too wide for me, and I'll explain to you why. But the rounds, it depends on your criteria, I guess. It could probably swing 8-4. It depends on how you're judging the fight. But suffice it to say that I thought it was a draw. Okay, let's start with the 12th round. Yeah, I thought it was a very close fight. Okay, okay. So let me start off by talking about the abilities of both fighters, and then we'll go into my scorecard. And then I'll start with the 12th round, like I said. So the abilities of the both fighters. Well, it's amazing. Edwin de los Santos, I think, is actually a more skilled fighter than Shakur Stevenson. Let me say it again, and I'll explain. Okay? If you want to contest me on that, fine. But do understand, I'm going to explain myself very clearly. When I say more skill, I mean he has more skill sets. He displayed more abilities than Shakur Stevenson. What Shakur Stevenson did, he does very, very well. He has very, very well honed skills. But as to say that Edwin de los Santos is less skilled than Shakur, that's not the case. I think he's more skilled. I also think, after seeing the fight, that Edwin de los Santos is actually a quicker fighter. I say quicker fighter than Shakur. You will say, what? Quicker? Yes, he's quicker. But I think that Shakur is a much better, well-conditioned fighter, and he's more economical than Edwin is. Edwin sometimes wastes punches to get punches in. I believe this fight was based on range, and Shakur did just enough to always be out of range of Edwin as the fight progressed. The aggressor for most of the fight was Edwin de los Santos. There were moments when Shakur, they flipped the switch and, Edwin would be on the back foot, Shakur would be on the front foot. We'll talk about those rounds. But for the most part, I do believe that Edwin de los Santos did more in the fight, but Shakur Stevenson was more effective in the fight. So this is a fight of where Edwin did a lot more because he was trying to press the action. He was trying to mount the offense. And Shakur, he was more precise, he was more surgical, and he was more defensive. In fact, throughout this fight, Shakur was more defensive than I'd seen him in a long time. Usually he stays in the pocket and he'd shell up his defense and trade. He didn't do that in this fight. He moved like crazy in this fight. He moved a lot. But it was economical at times. And that's because I believe he felt the other ability of Edwin de los Santos, Edwin's power. In the first round, just to kind of say something, Edwin landed a jab. He threw a double jab, and he landed a jab to Shakur's body, which Shakur partially parried as the jab was being moved out of his stomach. And I think from thenceforth, Shakur respected Edwin's power. He felt it. Edwin went to the breadbasket. He feinted up top, double jab to the body. And Shakur was like, I ain't gonna have none of that. I'm fighting you from a distance. However, when Shakur closed the distance and was on the deep inside, body to body, Shakur started to go to work, and Edwin tried to lock him up because Edwin really couldn't win that battle on the inside. Shakur is actually a better inside fighter than Edwin is. But Edwin showed me a number of abilities and skills, which showed me he has more ability and more skills than Shakur. And he's quicker twitched. He's just way quicker than Shakur in terms of his reaction time. That's how he's be able to thread the needle and get those jabs in. Particularly early in the fight, Edwin was out jabbing Shakur. He was out jabbing Shakur, actually. But he was working harder to get those jabs in. Whereas Shakur was staying conservative, very economical with his movement, more or less. I think there were a couple of rounds coming down to the end where he was moving excessively. But for the most part, he was very economical in his movements, staying just outside of range. Actually he's going straight back. Sometimes you're not supposed to go straight back, but he went straight back at certain times and circled the ring, etc. All right, I'm giving you generalities before I go round by round. The abilities of both fighters. So let me just explain to you what Shakur's abilities are from what I get. So what Shakur does is he stays behind his jab. He tries to use the footwork that Canelo uses, which is you try to steal ground as you walk forward. That didn't work with Edwin, and he was like, you know what, I ain't fucking around with Edwin like that. But he would keep a certain measured range. So if he's stepping forward, if you take a step back, he's going to step forward. If you step to him and you steal ground, you step to him like Edwin was doing, he'd move back. So that's basically Shakur's whole thing. He wants to maintain a certain range, a certain distance. And Edwin's quicker in the shuffle. That's why Edwin was able to thread the needle and get a couple jabs to the body, particularly he was getting jabs in. Shakur's more landing jabs to the head, amazingly. So basically it was the battle of the jabs for the entire fight. They really didn't get to land their money punch, but in the 12th round, Shakur was able to land his money punch, his left hand in the 12th round. So suffice it to say, Shakur took the 12th round. But let me just explain Shakur's style. So Shakur, he's very his skills are very, very honed. Shakur is very sharp. Okay, he's not the biggest puncher in the world, but he's sharp. And as a result of that, because everything's about timing, distance, and timing and distance, right? So Shakur is sharp, and he has good timing. Okay. Edwin, on the other hand, is able to get angles on Shakur and to circle him a certain way. And even when Shakur is trying to attack Edwin, Edwin will pivot out the way instead of stepping back to respect distance and then circling out. Edwin doesn't do all of that. He just steps around you. He parries, steps around you. Okay. So Edwin was able to, more for the most part of the fight, stay in the center of the ring. Now he can also step back. He can also step back on an angle and pivot widely out, and he did it once or twice. But for the most part, Edwin, his skills are more. That's what I'm saying. He can step around you. He can pivot off to the side, parry off. He can throw a check hook off a parry. He can pivot and check hook. And Shakur can check hook. He checks hook going straight back. So he'll check hook. He maintains this and he check hooks going back. Whereas Edwin can pivot and check hook. So he can pivot like what Floyd does, like what Erislandy Lara does, like what Austin Trout do. He can actually step on a pivot and check hook you as he's pivoting out. So that's something that Edwin had over Shakur. And like I said, different skills, different availability skills. You could see Edwin's well schooled, and a lot of things Shakur would get away with slower fighters or fighters less schooled with less boxing IQ. He couldn't get away with that with Edwin. So that's why I said this is a very fascinating fight, because Shakur was able to make an adjustment. He understood he had to stay a certain distance away from Edwin because he wasn't as quick. Edwin's very quick, and he's very athletic, and he can do a lot of things. And Edwin was showing you that, right? Whereas Shakur can't do as many things, but what he does very, very well, which is why Shakur was not able to really dominate Edwin in any way, shape, or form in this fight. Now, people will say this fight was boring, which I get it. Wasn't a lot of punches thrown, right? But the the tactics in this fight was so high. The level of fighting was so high. I've seen Shakur spar Richardson Hitchens. Richardson Hitchens is an incredible boxer. And there are a lot of things that Shakur and Richardson Hitchens do. They're like a mirror image of each other. Well, it was the same thing going on with Edwin de los Santos and Shakur. Edwin is a boxer. So, and Shakur is a boxer. So both guys are trying to outthink each other in the ring. I'm just using the word outthink. They're not really doing that, but what I'm saying, they're looking to do different things. So we're going to talk about that, and that's why this fight's so interesting, and why it ended up at a stalemate, in my opinion. And I'll talk about which rounds. But yes, Shakur. So let me explain. So Shakur, his skills are to maintain a certain range, but he's very efficient. He's very good at fighting on the inside as well. So we saw some of that skill set. I saw him land some nice buddy punches on the inside. And he also in the clinch. He's working in the clinch, which is really good. So Shakur showed me some stuff I hadn't seen like that before. And he's sharp with his counterpunching, meaning he's very precise with his counterpunching. He's very sharp with his punch. Even though he didn't really hit Edwin de los Santos much in the fight, because Edwin also has incredible defense. The only thing that I think Shakur really, in fact, for the entire fight, I think Shakur landed a body shot, and I think he landed in the 12th. He landed a left hand. But to say, a right hook, I think to the body, he landed on De Los Santos and a left hand. In short, what I'm saying is that there wasn't much power shots in this fight. It was a battle of the jabs all the way down to the end, right? De Los Santos really didn't land his left hand at all. I don't remember him landing left hand in the fight at all. And he tried to do what was a left hand lead, but because of the distance again, Shakur's, take a hop back and then pivot. He wasn't able to really do much. But in the first round, he did catch Shakur with a jab early and hurt him. And Shakur went in for the clinch because he realized that power was for real. in the first round. So De Los Santos has power. He has certain skills. We saw him do, he was throwing double jabs, whereas Shakur was throwing one jab, right? So he was able to out jab Shakur early in the fight, but later on in the fight, Shakur made an adjustment. De Los Santos can circle either way to a southpaw. Southpaw to southpaw, he can circle either way. Shakur was circling one way. So when De Los Santos was circling Shakur a certain way, Shakur actually, he was getting access to Shakur's body. Shakur tried to make an adjustment by changing distance, because once you change distance on a guy, it don't matter which way he's circling, you can always circle out to counter that. So Shakur showed me he does not circle two different ways. When De Los Santos is circling him a certain way, he was getting hit. All right, but Shakur was smart enough to pick up on that, and he made an adjustment. So he would make De Los Santos circle the other way. Even though it was a battle again, it was a battle. When he realized he couldn't make him circle the way he wanted him to circle, he'd keep the range, he would keep the distance, he would stay as far out or deep in the pocket. Okay, he wasn't trying to stay in the pocket mid-range where they could trade, because as Shakur said before the fight, y'all talking about they're going to be trading in this fight. Who says they're going to be trading in this fight? And Shakur kept it minimal. He tried to keep that distance where De Los Santos couldn't be in range to trade. Okay, now Shakur's skills, like I said, controlling range, he does it with his feet. He will step straight back and then he'll pivot out. So if you take 2 steps forward or 3 steps forward, he makes sure he has enough distance so he can take 2 steps back or hop back if he has to. You know, you may hop back and then pivot out. That's what Shakur does. De Los Santos has variety. That's why I said he could do just what Shakur did. He could pivot out the way. He could pivot and check hook, because he mixes his defense with his offense better than Shakur. That's why Shakur, when he was defensively getting out of the way of shots, he ain't in range to do nothing, so he can't counter. Whereas De Los Santos, when he was close enough, he'd be countering once it's not deep in the pocket. When it's deep in body to body, Shakur actually had the advantage on him and was, you know, landing shots and stuff. But when De Los Santos is at mid-range, which is De Los Santos' place where he can do his thing, he was countering Shakur, you know? In fact, when Shakur was throwing jabs, De Los Santos would jab to the body. He would slip below. So all of these little things, De Los Santos was throwing different kinds of feints. He was trying to distract, but because he's so far outside, he was trying to inch in with his feet. You could see he was trying to inch in on Shakur, and that's why he got close enough. But then Shakur, once Shakur tasted that power, Shakur was like, fuck that. I ain't trying to even try to mix it up with this dude. So that's why the fight looked so stale, because Shakur decided to use his legs. He decided to stay far, you know, make sure he's always clear of the guy. He knew how to circle the ring, so the guy couldn't really cut off the ring like he wanted to, even though the guy's a smart fighter and he was cutting down the ring. But there's only so much you can do with a fighter who can really, he understands range and distance. And that's the one thing Shakur's got. He understands range and distance. Even though De Los Santos should have set a little bit more traps. He tried. But there's ways to kind of get a fighter not to do that with you. But, you know, he'll learn from this experience, and hopefully he'll come back. You know, this is his first championship fight against one of the best fighters out there. So, you know, he tried, but he kind of got desperate, and Shakur was able to counter him once or twice in the later rounds. So all of that played into the game. Shakur, composure. One of the things we got to talk about, one of the intangibles, is being composed throughout a fight. And Shakur showed composure. He knew what to do in certain situations. De Los Santos, again, experience is the major key. I think experience is why Shakur, they gave the fight to Shakur. I didn't think Shakur won the fight, but I understand why they may give it to him, because, again, he finished the fight strong, meaning what I mean by finish the fight strong, he seemed to be more in control of the fight at the end. And the fact that he was able to pot shot De Los Santos with that combination, that 1-2 combination in southpaw stance, kind of sealed the deal for him in the 12th, because the fight was seesaw like this. So that's why I think, somebody in the comment section, let's talk, people. Sav Harris said, I hear so many folks saying Shakur is too patient. No, it's not that. It's okay. So let me explain. He tried. Even his corner said, walk him down, try to walk him down. And then they abandoned that because Shakur couldn't walk him down. That little trick he tries to use, that is Canelo, it didn't work on De Los Santos. You know what I mean? De Los Santos is a very, very, y'all underestimate De Los Santos. He proved that he is on the league of a Shakur Stevenson and on those elite fighters. He just proved today he was elite. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Sav Harris says, exciting don't equal greatest. Very true. But for me, this fight was tactical, and I really enjoyed it. Okay? And De Los Santos very much impressed me. He impressed me. Like I said, I didn't think this guy could ever, you know, beat Shakur. So he was equal to the task. He was equally smart. The amount of things they were doing in the different rounds. So let me go through that. And I didn't really tell you all of Shakur's skills. I didn't really tell you all of the skills he displayed, at least in this fight. And I didn't tell you all the skills that De Los Santos displayed in this fight. But De Los Santos is a thinking fighter. He changes it up as the fight goes along. And I really want to talk about that. So let me, if you want to hop on here as a guest again, you can click the link and we can just talk back and forth, because this is what it's about. All right, so let me show you guys what was going on there. So let's go. So like I said, biased ESPN commentary, I really can't take it. These guys really, I be saying sometimes in the middle of the telecast, shut the fuck up, because I need to hear the sound to hear the impact of the punches. You know what I'm saying? So the commentary is like a fly buzzing around my ear or a mosquito. It's really annoying when I hear these guys like suck. I hate to say this in a vulgar way, but suck Shakur's dick. They like sucking his dick, man. They dick sucking. I hate that. You know, I understand it's your company's guy, but oh man, please. What's the difference between Shakur and Floyd? Oh, we don't want to go there. We don't want to go there. Floyd's defense is all right. So let me say this. I'm gonna say this. You guys can again come on here and debate me if you want. De Los Santos has a better defense. De Los Santos has a better defense. He has a defense more like Floyd than Shakur does. Like I said, De Los Santos is a much more skilled fighter than Shakur. Shakur has more honed skills. But De Los Santos has more skills than Shakur. He does. Facts. Facts. Okay? IQ of the both guys is interesting as well. They have interesting IQ. Shakur has a hell of a jab. He has a hell of a jab. But De Los Santos, can't sleep on him. He knows how to jab. He understands the mechanics. He understands to cover the distance. I needed a double jab. I saw De Los Santos jab Shakur at an angle that you didn't expect. These guys have a repertoire of jabs as well, right? Shakur has different ways of throwing the jab. De Los Santos was feinting the jab. He was feinting the up jab at certain times. He's feinting the spear jab. Y'all don't even understand how beautiful this fight was in terms of skill. In terms of skill, this fight was a highly skilled chess match you were watching. And while Shakur talked about how he kind of disappointed with his performance because he thought he could dominate Edwin De Los Santos, he thought he was going to pull away, he has nothing to be ashamed of. Nothing. Nothing. Right? They gave him the victory. And I want to talk about that because a lot of people don't understand the sweet science, right? And it's not about being more aggressive. Shakur had to do what he had to do to win. You know what I'm saying? Hold on a second, though. You guys are really starting to pop in. So the difference between Shakur and Floyd's defense, let me explain. Shakur is good, but Floyd don't go straight back. He don't go straight back. Not all the time. Floyd, also, his offense is very effective. He has very effective offense. He wouldn't be moving around the ring as much as Shakur did in the middle and to the late rounds of the fight. Watch it Floyd versus Judah. Watch it Floyd versus, if Floyd say he coming at your ass, he's coming at your ass. He's gonna walk you down. He's gonna walk you down. Period. Right? And we seen Floyd walk down Oscar De La Hoya. We seen Floyd walk down Miguel Cotto at certain parts in the Miguel Cotto fight. We seen Floyd walk down and beat up Zab Judah. Okay? Seen him walk down and beat him. But Zab is a more skilled fighter than Floyd. I'm going to say it again. Zab Judah is actually a more skilled fighter than Floyd Mayweather. This actually can do more things. But Floyd has the greater honed skills, and he had more dedication to the sport of boxing. You understand what I'm saying? Because more skills doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win the fight. You got it? All right, let me see. Sav Harrison here. Sav Harrison says, at work, bro, but I know you know your stuff. When I get an opportunity, we going to rap about this stuff. Nice. I'm sorry. You know, this is my job. This is my work. So, you know, I'm at work too, but, you know, I'll try to break it down. He says, your opinion is Shakur is a phenom or just a school fighter akin to Ward. No. He's a phenom. Let's not see. This is the thing. I don't understand how some people can say Shakur's not a phenom. He is a phenom. How do you tell? Of course, but it's not just talent alone. It's not just skills alone. You got to put in the work. He worked hard. He worked hard to be where he's at. The reason he got that decision is because he worked hard. Right? And he had more experience than, you know, De Los Santos. So he was able to influence the judges at critical moments in the fight. In the 12th, he pulled this fight out in the 12th round. Okay? Even though I got it as a draw, I get the last impact the judges got was him two-piece and clean. He two-pieced Edwin. And that's what you remember about the 12th. Edwin landed 1 or 2 body shots. Some jabs came in the 12th. But that moment stays in your mind. That's what Floyd used to do as well. You see what I'm saying? And that's what turned the fight. And then he just kept on moving around and showing his defense and showing Edwin couldn't touch him. And he was mocking him. Because at that point in time, he knew the fight was over. He got his two-piece in. He knows that round is his. So he started to go on his bicycle. And he moved around the ring while Edwin was trying to get him. You understand what I'm saying? So, no, smart boxing. You got to be smart. You know what I mean? He is a phenom. He understands the sport so well. What people don't understand is when we talk about skills is not natural ability. So when we talk about phenom, what does a phenom mean? A phenom is somebody that dominates, been dominating the amateurs, been dominating the pros, knows how to win, and get it done. It's not about just being well schooled. It's about being phenomenal, right, at what you do. And Shakur is phenomenal at what he does. Don't get it twisted. I think a lot of y'all getting it twisted. I'm not saying, well, the proof is in the pudding. I'm not saying De Los Santos. I'm not saying that he beat Shakur one, and I'm not saying he's a better fighter than Shakur. I'm not saying that either. And the proof's in the pudding. Shakur beat him, right? According to the judges. He got the judges to score it in his favor. Say what you want. It's about winning, right? So you got to understand, it was a very close fight. But the last thing the judges saw in that close fight was Shakur two-piecing Edwin De Los Santos. You get what I'm saying? That's why he won it, right? If De Los Santos, in my opinion, if De Los Santos had taken the 12th round, somehow he just had to throw a flurry and it kind of hit Shakur, and Shakur's kind of looking like he's uncomfortable. He'd have won the 12th round, and then the judges would probably have the scores even closer. They may have been 7-5 Shakur, 7-5 Shakur. 6-6, somebody would have a draw. Maybe it would have been a majority decision. Could have been a split decision win for Shakur, right? Remember, he's the A side. He's the thing. So they would have still given him the decision. I'm thinking about how boxing works, right? De Los Santos had to do a lot more to beat Shakur because this is the guy the thing centered around. He's supposed to be the big name, etc., etc. It's just like with Ndongo, Francis Ndongo. He had to do a lot more. Even though he dropped Tyson Fury, even if Edwin De Los Santos had dropped Shakur, I don't think he would have get the decision. It's just what it is, right? And then you hear the biased ass commentary. What do you expect? What do you expect? You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where it kind of was rigged against De Los Santos, but he took the opportunity. He wanted to fight. He thought that Shakur was running. No, bro. No, bro. That's boxing. He boxed you. All right, he boxed you. You had to find range. You had to figure out a way to find range. And one of the things he didn't do enough of, and I know he tried. He tried to trap set Shakur, but Shakur wasn't going for it. So he has to learn how to close the distance even more effectively than he's doing now. And one of those things is it's called setting a trap. You make a guy, you condition a guy, you keep on doing the same things. You conditioning the guy and you're setting him up, you're setting him up, you're setting him up, and then you spring your trap. That's what he was supposed to do. Right. But inexperience, and then he never went 12 rounds. You know, this is his first 12 round. He probably was trying to conserve energy and all those things. So I don't want to hear nobody in boxing say, oh, he ran. Yeah, you can mock him. You can call him Shakira and all of that. But at the end of the day, you lost. You lost the fight because the other guy was able to outmaneuver you. Right. So you can't be mad at Shakur for doing what he needed to do. He needed to do this. This is what he do to win. This was not no run of the mill opponent, because guess what? I think Edwin de los Santos, even though he doesn't have the criteria behind him for me to say he's a phenom, I won't say he's a phenom. I won't say that, but I can say he's on the level of a phenom in boxing. That's what I could say. That's fair enough, because he doesn't have enough body of work. See, Shakur has Oscar Valdez. Shakur has what's his name? Jamel Herring. I think Shakur beat Concierge, the guy that just beat Navarrete, right? I think he beat him too. So all I'm saying is Shakur showed his quality. He beat some really good fighters. He's shown he has a track record. So when we say he a phenom, it's fair game, because boxing's a doing sport. It's about what you do, right? It's what I don't want to hear about what you didn't do and what could happen and he's this good. Because what we saw today, everybody was saying Shakur, he's the top 3 lightweight. Oh, everybody was saying Shakur, you know, he would beat Devin Haney, he would beat Tank Davis. Right? And probably he would. But until he does it, you can't give him credit for what he didn't do. And that's the problem with fans in boxing. And that's even the problem with the industry. Oh, the eye test. Don't give me no eye test. I want to see it. Show me. Don't tell me. Show me. Talk is cheap. So Sav Harris says Zab is more talented than Floyd. No way he's more skilled, in my opinion, of course. No, he's more skilled. He can do more things. He can do more things than Floyd. At the time Floyd faced him, that is. Not after. At the time Floyd faced him, he can do a lot of things. Zab showed that. But once again, Floyd had the superior hone skills, the better conditioning, and he was able, and his IQ. Because see, Zab's IQ is great, but the other thing is the disciplined mind. Zab was always trying to beat people down. So he would stay in the pocket. When he could box you on the outside, he would stay in the pocket. See, Zab could box you like how Shakur could box you, and even he could do a couple other things. Skill-wise, Zab had a lot of skill, not a lot of honed skill. For crying out loud, Pernell Whitaker mentored him. Pernell Whitaker don't mentor no scrub. He don't. Okay? DeMarcus Chap Corley got skill too, but he could fight. And Corley loved to fight more than he liked to box. All these guys got skill. Right? Just because they display certain things, all you got to do is watch at the fights where Zab outbox certain guys. Watch at the fights. And you'll see Zab can do all kind of things. All kind of things. All right? And the way how he may do, like, for example, throw a check hook, or the way how he may throw a jab, or the way how, because Zab got spoiled by his power. So he didn't train as hard as he was supposed to, because he always depended on his power. And when his power failed him, then now he didn't know how to make the right decisions, because he's still in the fight mode. So instead of boxing you, he would fight you. You get what I'm saying? So he was kind of indisciplined mentally. You know, indisciplined, and that's what got him, you know, because he has, not only is he talented, he was also Zab used to kill it in the amateurs. Everybody know that. Zab was the man. You know, he was the man in the amateurs. With the little men, he was the man. He was beating everybody in the amateurs. You know what I'm saying? But you know, it is what it is. Zab was always bigger than Floyd, so he was always weight classes above Floyd. Floyd was down here, Zab was up here, right? It is what it is. But Floyd is, I mean, his skills are so honed, and that's the thing with Shakur. His skills are so honed, and he understands boxing. He understands range. He understands what to do to close the distance. He understands how to cut off the ring. You know, Floyd knows these things, and Shakur knows these things, and how to deal with a fighter. Like, for example, with Shakur, so one of the things Edwin de los Santos kind of made a mistake with was he was trying to box too much at certain times. And sometimes you have to take the risk and go after the guy, but not with this big shots. You're not trying to load up on your shots. He tried to load up on certain shots, and so, you know, either Shakur would counter him or he would just completely miss, you know? And so you don't load up. You have to be untelegraphed. You have to still be moving with the precision and speed. And if the guy's slightly out the way, you throw a double jab, you slide in, he pivots off to the left, you start cutting him off one time, and you start putting pressure on him. You start pressuring him. Don't throw nothing. Do like Canelo. You ain't throwing nothing, but you're putting pressure on him. You're putting that presence there, right? Put pressure on him. Don't stay in the center of the ring. Try to get him up against the ropes. So with Floyd, you look at Floyd versus Zab Judah. You look at Floyd versus, I'm thinking of the fighters that he pressured. Look at how he fought, what's his name? Andre Berto. Look at how he fought, he had Andre Berto up against the ropes, right? Look how he fought, what's the other guy? Victor Ortiz. Look how he, you know, and Victor's a quick guy, got good power, but you have to put pressure on him. When you're dealing with a boxer, you have to be rough. You have to maul them. You have to be in their face. The problem with Edwin was Shakur was winning the battle deep in the pocket. He had to lock him up. So there's a certain space he could do. You could tell Shakur was a better fighter on the inside than Edwin was. So you had to lock up Shakur once he closed the distance. And that's something he has to work on. Because once you get to the inside, you should be working on this dude because he's so far away. You might be able to get that perfect mid-range. You may have to, you know, and that's the thing. Teofimo Lopez also lacks that. So Edwin has a good mid-range game. He has a good outside game. He knows how to close the distance to get to mid-range. But once he gets deep in the pocket, he locks you up. Whereas Shakur, he can fight on the inside. He can fight a bit on mid-range. He realized he was losing the mid-range battle, so he stayed on the outside. And he was trying to pick him off from the outside. And once he got in the inside, he started working. So he's a smart guy, smart boxing. Like I said, Shakur is fantastic. But what did Edwin do? He made an adjustment. When he realized that Shakur, he pivots a certain way and he doesn't pivot the other way, or at least when he pivots a certain way, he has an advantage on Shakur. Not necessarily that Shakur can't pivot the other way, but with the skill set that Edwin had, he was able to get him an advantage. He started to force Shakur to try and go that way. And Shakur started to, anytime he pivoted a certain way, Shakur would just move right back, disengage immediately. So Shakur would keep that distance. You understand? I told you, it was high level chess going on in there. Yeah, Camacho ran, Shakur, Floyd, Pernell, etc. box. Yeah, I mean, if you physically run, no, Camacho was a good fighter. He was a boxer, but yeah, in certain fights, he kind of took a jog. I literally jogged around the ring. But that's part of boxing as well. But it just tells you that the fighter doesn't want to be anywhere near. He doesn't want to be anywhere near the other fighter. That's all that means, because that's excessive movement, right? Like Rigo versus what was his name? The Filipino guy. Rigo was moving. That's where you have to learn how to cut off the ring. You have to learn how to feint them when they start to go one way or the other. Once they're moving excessively, you want to make them burn energy. So sometimes you have to go after them a little bit, or feint like you're going after them, make them leap away again, let them burn some energy. And then you got to go to the body. You have to attack the body. You have to relentlessly attack the body. It's a body attack to slow them down a bit. Aristotle Lara is another guy against Canelo. He was moving. He wasn't even staying put. Yeah. Oh, it's funny to see that in the ring sometimes. It is. But yeah. So the abilities of both fighters, like I said. Now I can't go through everything, but suffice it to say, you know that Edwin de los Santos is a very highly skilled fighter, very intelligent fighter as well. But at times you can't fight certain guys clean. You have to fight them a bit dirty. You have to be a little bit dirty in there. And he was too clean. But he doesn't know that. He's inexperienced. You know, he was depending probably on his power and landed power shot, which he never had the opportunity to land a power shot in that fight. Oh, I think he did. I think in the first round he did land some power, but you know, for the most part, it was jabs, right? It was all about jabs. And again, just learning how to do a little bit more trap setting would help him to get Shakur to be more offensive. Sometimes you got to take one or two punches from a guy to be able to kind of set him into a trap, make him feel, oh, I can hit this guy. Because all it's about is about setting a trap. You want a guy to hit you. You want a guy not to hit you, but you want the guy to feel like he can get to you. You know, and that's the thing that Shakur didn't do in the fight as well. All right, let's talk about my scorecard now. All right. I didn't really go through all the abilities of both fighters, but it would take me forever, I guess. Okay, with Shakur, the 12th round, we start with the 12th round. Like I said, in the 12th round, Shakur landed that two-piece on De Los Santos, and I think that's what won him the round because there wasn't really a lot of landing. As well, some judges may have judged Shakur's effective defense, but me personally, I thought Lamont Peterson lost against Danny Garcia because he was getting out of the way of shots, but he wasn't coming back with nothing. And the reason Shakur could not come back with anything most of the time was because he was out of range. You know, he was completely out of range, so he couldn't engage. Whereas when De Los Santos moves out of range, when De Los Santos, he moves defensively, he's able to come back with a counter. Same thing with Floyd. Floyd was a guy, when he moves defensively, he's really setting you up to counterpunch you, right? The famous on the ropes counter punches that he did against Canelo, Marcus McDonough, you know, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Shakur was too far away to do that. So that's why he couldn't counterpunch. And that's why everybody's critiquing him, saying, oh, he's just moving. And it's just because Shakur, in this case, wanted to maintain a certain distance. It wasn't close enough to engage at any point. Now, some judges like that. They like that, so they would judge for that and maybe give Shakur the round. Me, personally, if nobody was really landing anything significant, throwing anything significant, I gave the round to the aggressor because I know it's about trying to make the fight. If the rounds were such that the guy on the back foot was actually tagging the guy that was aggressive, then the guy who's aggressive isn't effective. He's not landing anything. The other guy's tagging him. So I have to give the guy who's moving around the ring generalship and effective punching. So that's how I kind of judge this fight. And some rounds were very difficult because sometimes the guys would exchange who's the aggressor and who's the defense, like the round 9, where they were just switching around. And I gave the round to Shakur. I said I give it to Shakur because I think he landed 1 or 2 clean jabs. It wasn't super clean, but I just gave it to Shakur. I say he's the favorite. Most likely the judges would give it. But round 9 was like a swing round, like for real. Like I couldn't give it to nobody. All right. So round number 12. Now, there wasn't a lot of punches landing. There was reasonable amount of punches thrown, but it wasn't much punches landing. And Shakur wasn't really throwing a lot of punches. You know, Shakur's a guy, you could tell, once he sees the opening, then he'll throw, right? He wasn't as offensively minded either. I think because when he felt De Los Santos' power, he was like, fuck no. The game plan is stay away from this dude. Unless I'm deep in the pocket, then I'm going to do my work. So that was the game plan. So round number 12 went to Shakur Stevenson, from what I recall. Round number 11, if I do recall correctly, that was also, I believe, a Shakur Stevenson round. And just to complement this so you will see how this fight was close, round number 1 I gave to De Los Santos. I gave it to Edwin because Edwin was landing his jab to the body consistently, even though Shakur would come down with the parry to parry the jab. Because he double jabbed him, Shakur wasn't coming down in time to parry it. So the most significant fights of that round, even though I think Shakur did land a jab sometime at Edwin, I think Edwin landed about 3 or 4 jabs in that round. And Edwin also hurt Shakur. Well, I say hurt, but you know, Shakur had to take excessive. I think he hit him with a right hand, left hand, and caught him on the ropes. And Shakur came in and clinched. And so that was definitely an Edwin de los Santos round. Now ESPN will tell you it was a Shakur round. I don't know what the fuck they was watching, right? But for me, the first round went to Edwin. The second round went to Shakur. Shakur's jab really started becoming effective, and he had a nice sharp jab. He jabbed to Edwin's head. Edwin kind of rode it as he was trying to counter Shakur. So Edwin was, I think, a little bit upright, and Shakur caught him with the jab because he was measuring him. He was measuring him in the first round. He caught him with a beautiful jab, and I think his jab sort of dominated round 2. Now round 3, trying to remember how this goes. So I said round 10, 12, and round 11 were Shakur rounds, I believe. Let me say this. The fight was even at round 8. Okay? It was even. That's why I said this fight was close. But anyway, let's go to it. I think I gave Shakur round 9. I gave Edwin round 10. And I gave Shakur 11 and 12. Something like that. Let me think. I gave Shakur round 9 for sure. I gave Edwin round 10. I think I gave Edwin round 11, and I gave Shakur round 12. I think that's how it went. Yeah, because Edwin won round 11. Yes, I now remember. Yeah. So it was neck and neck. It was neck and neck, and it was mainly because the rounds were so close. So how it went was like this. Round 12, Shakur took that. Round 11, Edwin took it because Edwin in round 11, if I'm not mistaken, he landed some body shots. And he was the aggressor. I think the main reason was because he was aggressor. It wasn't nothing else. He was aggressor. So if you look at Shakur, he was evading Edwin's punches in round 11. Edwin was the one pushing the fight. It was mostly in the center of the ring, but Edwin was still pushed. He was the one coming to Shakur most of the time. He was missing a lot, falling short a lot, but Shakur wasn't countering him to make him pay. And so, but again, the guys were doing calculated movements. Edwin was very quick, by the way. But at the same time, and Edwin didn't actually, his tank didn't really wear. His punches wasn't as snappy as in the beginning, but he did very, very well. And for a 12 rounder, first 12 rounder, all of that for a championship fight, he stepped up to the competition and he showed he belonged. So the reason Edwin really primarily won the 11th round for me was because the guys didn't really do a significant amount of stuff, and Edwin was the aggressor throughout the fight, trying to make the fight happen. Now, if you were going, Shakur is the defensive guy, then maybe you'd give the round to Shakur. So maybe I could see that happening, but I don't think you would, because Shakur wasn't really doing anything in round 11. He was offensively, he wasn't effective offensively. So if one guy, he's effective defensively and everybody's missing, but offensively also he ain't doing nothing, but the other guy is offensively doing something, then you give the round to the guy who's offensively doing something, because both of them ain't doing nothing. One guy is trying to throw punches, but he ain't landing, and the other guy, he ain't throwing nothing, right? He's just trying to move out of the way to punches. So you give it to the guy who's the aggressor. It's not effective, but the other guy ain't doing nothing. The other guy's not giving any offense. You get what I'm saying? So making an effort is better than not making an effort. Making the fight is better than not making the fight. You get what I'm saying? So that's why you give it to the aggressor when nobody's really landing anything significant. So in round 11, I gave it to De Los Santos. Round 10, I gave to Shakur. Who did I give to? Round 10, I think I gave to Shakur. Round 10, I gave to Shakur because I think his jab, he out-jabbed De Los Santos, and I think he also landed 1 or 2 body shots. And I also think he was on the front foot a little bit more, even though De Los Santos was still pursuing him for most, and he was making De Los Santos miss. So I gave the round to him. In round 9, it was a swing round. They were both at times being the aggressor, and they were playing around with each other. They were interchanging roles, playing a cat and mouse game. And De Los Santos landed some pretty good shots. They clinched up sometimes. Shakur worked in the clinch. But for the most part, with round 9, I gave it to Shakur because he was just the house guy. That's the reason I gave it, because that round was just too hard to score for me. It was a very difficult round to score for me. So I said, well, you know what? I'm going to give Shakur. Because at the time, yeah, they were dead even in round 8. So let me see how it goes. De Los Santos got round 1. Shakur got round 2. De Los Santos got round 3. De Los Santos got round 4. I think Shakur got round 5. De Los Santos got round 6. Shakur got round 7. And De Los Santos got round 8. That's, I think, how it went. And then Shakur got round 9. De Los Santos got round 10. And Shakur got rounds. Then De Los Santos got round 11. And Shakur got around 12. That's how close the fight was for me. Because it wasn't a lot of punches thrown. And when you're not throwing any offense or very little offense, and the other guy's throwing a lot of offense, even though he's not landing, right? Even though he's not landing, all you're doing is going on defense. It's like if I'm chasing you down, I'm trying to make the fight. You're not trying to make the fight. So you got to give it to the aggressor in that case. Even if he's ineffective with his aggression, you have to give it to him because the other guy's not mounting anything. So we can't even, that's like 0 compared to a lot of attempts, but 0. You know what I mean? Somebody's trying to make the fight. The other guy's not trying to make the fight. So that's why. Okay. So early on in the fight, De Los Santos' jab was working and landing. And then Shakur was able to analyze distance. He was able to circle a certain way, or he was able to maintain a certain distance, and that he took away that. And so as the fight progressed, De Los Santos was finding difficulty trying to catch Shakur. He used different strategies. He tried to bait him in. He tried to go on the back foot, bait him into a trap. Shakur knew the trap. He tried to, you hear his corner saying, you got to go after him. So he started to be more aggressive. But he's trying to be aggressive, but he's being too clean. You have to be dirty with these guys. You have to try and disrobe their minds. And the problem De Los Santos had, why he didn't get to where he needed to be, was, one, he didn't mask his punches enough. What I mean by that is sometimes you have to bait a guy, which means you have to let the guy feel like he can hit you. You got to let the guy feel like he's almost going to hit you, and don't come back sometimes with a quick counter. Try to sucker him into feeling confident, so he's coming at you. Make him sucker him into feeling he can push you back and walk you back, and all the meantime, you're trying to set a trap for him. And sometimes you have to take one to get one. So you decide, like let him partially collect a punch, and then you come back with something immediately, That's the thing, there's all these little smart little tricks you have to set up for these guys. Because otherwise, even if he tried to sell out, Shakur would be a little too far away. You have to get him to close the distance. You want Shakur to be inching in, and you have to know where your range is at. But they were more playing cat and mouse games because they kind of knew what each other was doing. So it was a little harder. But sometimes you got to let the guy feel like he has some success. You got to let him feel, oh, I got him. And somewhere in there you can get him as well. So that's the thing. That's the little higher level stuff and De Los Santos, he didn't panic per se, but he kind of loaded up on certain shots. And that's why he got caught with the 2-piece while he was trying to throw a shot. But he was catching Shakur in exchanges. That's why Shakur didn't want to exchange. You know what Shakur was like? He was like Jamel Charlo versus Canelo. The difference was Canelo actually closed the distance and was really launching combinations when it was time, where Shakur was trying to get out of there once De Los Santos started throwing combinations or lock him up. But, it's a learning experience for De Los Santos. So I had it as a draw. I had it 6-6, 114 at the end of the fight. But it's good learning experience for De Los Santos. He's going to work on setting more traps, being a little bit smarter, and I'll benefit him in the end. Reaction by boxing public, fear or not? Well, the public is going to say, well, Shakur ain't all that. And they're going to say De Los Santos won the fight. And they're going to say all kinds of things. Okay. That really doesn't matter. The truth of the matter is Shakur pulled out the win. The judges gave the decision to him. And we move on. De Los Santos didn't do enough to convince the judges that he won that fight. Me personally, I didn't think either guy did enough to convince the judges that they won the fight. That's my personal opinion after scoring the rounds. But I'll say that, you know, Shakur been talking. You see, Shakur's all cap. He be talking about this guy ducked him and that guy ducked him, and so if the public now goes in on you for a performance in which it was very competitive, just like Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, very very competitive fight, which could have gone either way. I mean, it is what it is. Look like you struggled with Edwin de los Santos, who nobody knew about like that. I mean, he was kind of known, he was kind of on the rise, but this is a guy now on the rise, getting to where he needs to be. You're supposed to have all this championship experience. You're supposed to separate yourself from him. And he didn't do that. So is it fear that the public is blasting him like that? Not in the excessive way that they're doing. The quality of fighting Edwin surprised me with his IQ and his skills and everything. So I can't really knock Shakur. He was in with a guy who, athletically speaking and speed-wise and quickness-wise, was superior to him. And he realized he needed to make an adjustment and stay as far away so he could see the guy as he was coming in. And even though he's trying to walk him down and all of those things, he made certain adjustments. And his championship material showed up in the 12th round where he took that. And that's the last thing the judges remember, and that's what impressed them to give him the fight. So he won the belt. But I'll say this. A lot of these fighters out here, a lot of y'all fighters try to make buzz, right? And y'all talk too much. Y'all talk too fucking much. So people come to expect certain things about you. I know you're hyping up the fight and all of that, but sometimes you just need to chill. Shakur was disappointed with his own performance. So that tells you everything you need to know. Andre Ward, as usual, Andre's kind of down in Shakur. He shouldn't do that. You're not inspiring the guy by doing that, in my opinion. I think Shakur did a good enough job to get the nod. I don't think he got the nod. I don't think he should have gotten the nod, but he did enough to get the nod. So by the judges, that's just facts. You move on. Now, Shakur versus Tank. People are asking about that. I think one of you guys asked me that question in the comments somewhere. Janelle S says, who do you think is winning between Tank and Shakur? All right. I don't know, to be honest with you. In this fight, Shakur used range and distance. But, if and sharpness. But if Tank, the question is, how good is Tank on the inside, deep in the pocket? Because if he's good at deep in the pocket, then he can get Shakur, right? You can't just be fighting at mid-range. You can't just be fighting on the outside with Shakur. You have to get in the pocket. The other thing Tank will have to do is he'll have to be dirty. He's going to have to be dirty with Shakur. If you're not dirty with this dude, you have to rough him up. Got to hit him in the balls. Got to rough him up. You're not dirty with this dude, you're not going to get a chance. So you have to mix up being clean. You got to be crafty. You got to be dirty. The angles. I saw, and this is what make the fight a draw. The angle that Edwin de los Santos hit Shakur with and caught him with the body shot, Shakur didn't expect that. That's why Shakur started staying far away from him, because he was able to step around him and come in off an angle that he just didn't see. Shakur didn't see it. And that, again, skills. Sav Harris says, all good takes, bro. Thank you very much. So skills pay the bills. And when a guy, you can't handle a guy, what do? You try to range control. What the other thing in this fight, because it was a thinking man's fight, sometimes you have to take it up a notch, and you gotta change the pace of the fight. See, with David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andre, pace is going to be important in this fight. If David Benavidez can get the pace of the fight to be rapid, he could make Demetrius Andre rush his stuff. If Demetrius Andre don't stay composed, Shakur is a composed fighter, no doubt about it. But one of the things that De Los Santos didn't do was he should have, because you're trying to play too much chess. Sometimes you just have to go for it. You have to go for it. And even though Shakur throws sharp punches, you got to go for it. You got to test his power, feel his power. And after that, you got to now understand there's smoke and mirrors going on in here, and you need to put your guard up and go at him, right? You got to take the 2 guard and walk him down. You got to start walking this motherfucker down. You got to walk him down to close the distance. Pick off the shots and walk him down. And that's what De Los Santos wasn't able to do, right? But you got to have a good inside game. That's the one thing I see De Los Santos kind of lacks, that inside game, like on a Shakur level. Because to get him to the body, and you got to walk him down. And yes, Shakur can split the 2 guard and stuff. You got to pick up the shots instead. But the point is that you got to walk this motherfucker down. You can't just be boxing him. And yes, you was having some success early on, but if he's too far away, there's nothing you can do. You have to close the distance. And what he didn't do was close the distance. He was trying to play chess with him and feint and all of that to get in with his quickness, when he should have just put his fucking hands up and say, I'm gonna dog your ass, and start walking him down. You gotta dog him, you know, and you just have to commit and just do it, you know, because you gotta close that distance on that motherfucker. You gotta close it on him. Make him clinch, make him lock you up. But you gotta close the distance on him. And that's the one thing that you know, with experience, you learn, oh, I need to bring this to the table. You know what I mean? So that's why Tank, on the other hand, might be able to do that. Because as Shakur, one of the things I noticed De Los Santos was able to do was when Shakur threw his jab, he was able to counter that jab with another jab, whether it's a double jab or whatever. So as Shakur threw with Tank, you know, he gonna be able to get past that jab. He might collect some jabs even, but he might walk through that shit to get to you. He might take something to get to you. You know what I mean? Tank's that kind of guy. And Tank has got good skills. Now, Shakur might be able to outbox him if he keeps distance, but if he boxing like how he boxed De Los Santos with Tank, Tank gonna put them 2 hands up and he gonna walk his ass down. That's what you do. I'm gonna start walking your ass down. I'm gonna test your power, see what it feel like on my arms, and I'm gonna walk your ass down. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you got to dog a guy. You might have to take some to get it. And nobody's beating Shakur just by just being clean with him. You gotta rough him up. You gotta walk his ass down. It's not just skill for skill, because his skills is very, very well honed, and he understands range. So you gotta close the range. How you gonna close the range? You're not gonna bait him in. You know, but sometimes you have to give people false sense of security. But if he's not committing, what I mean by committing, like he's not overreaching with his shots, he's always in balance, so he can always step back, then you gotta walk, you gotta dog him. You gotta dog this motherfucker. That's what you gotta do. You gotta dog him. You're still using your boxing. You gotta be a kind of Canelo, David Benavidez on his ass. You're gonna get the opportunities to throw your shots and stuff, and you can just offload on that motherfucker. That's what you gotta do. That's how you beat him. But yes, the one thing I saw Edwin De Los Santos exploiting on Shakur, should I talk about it? Shakur goes straight back. All right, Floyd don't go straight back. Floyd he may do a wide circle, or he may pivot on a wide circle. Shakur needs to stop going straight back. You won't get caught. You can't count on range for everything. If a man come through with a leaping left hook on your ass, you know, going straight back, you won't get clocked. You won't get rocked. Okay? You're lucky Edwin De Los Santos wasn't more aggressive and didn't realize he needed to throw a leaping left hook in there, a leaping right hook in there, or even lead off the left hand. A leaping left hand, like fucking Ricky Hatton used to do. Ricky Hatton used to do some crazy shit, you know? So he's lucky. You know, Edwin didn't do all of that. Edwin was doing a lot of flashy stuff, Cuban style of boxing kind of thing, but he didn't come in with leaping left hooks. Leaping left hook would have come in handy there. Catch that motherfucker on his chin. And how you do it? You misdirect with the eyes. So you're doing like going low. You're looking at the ground, you're watching at his feet. You know, you might even let him hit you with a shot. You know, you put the 2 guard up, you might snap back your head. So he's feeling himself. He's feeling he's getting in a rhythm. And when he snaps straight back, you leap and left hook that motherfucker to France. You knock him out. Well, you hurt him. He might shell up after that. But that's how you do it. IQ. Especially if you got the athleticism. Shakur goes straight back. Shakur got to stop doing that. Don't go straight back on guys. You know, Floyd, even though he looks like he's stepping back, he's always, and this is something Shakur need to work on in his game. Another thing that Shakur don't do properly, and that's why he couldn't walk down De Los Santos. Was as you're cutting those angles, trying to walk a guy down, don't just step straight to him. See, De Los Santos is even doing that, stepping straight to Shakur. No, you always turn that angle. You're trying to steal ground, but you're also trying to steal the angle on your opponent, which is why De Los Santos was able to catch you with that body shot that he did, because he was stealing. That's what I'm saying. De Los Santos got that skill where he understands. I'm not coming straight. I'm not coming straight through the front door. Fuck that. I'm gonna come off on an angle. So that's something else Shakur needs to work on in his game, because he always straight up and down try to come down, attack a fighter coming straight at him. You gotta learn how to pivot. That's the thing. Shakur don't always have that pivot. He has the wide pivots, but he don't have the tight pivots. You know, and that's another thing that what's his name? I'm exposing some stuff, but it's stuff for you to work on, Shakur. Somebody talk to Shakur about this and his trainers so they can work on that. But all I'm saying is, you know, he didn't show that in this fight. I noticed in certain fights in the pros, he sometimes he get caught because you're going straight back, bro. Don't do that. All right, you might think you are out of range, but if a guy uses a leaping left hook, or if he does what he called, he does a leaping spear jab or a leaping punch, your ass is gonna be grass because he coming from low to high. You're not gonna be able to check hook him. You know what I'm saying? And with a speed like Edwin De Los Santos, he gonna catch your ass and pop your head back, and then he gonna follow it up. I remember Sean Porter versus Adrian Broner. That's what happened. So you got to be careful. Even when you think you hop back one, if he double hops, if he skips, it's called what's it called? If a guy skips in on you, you know, and you're going straight back, you won't get caught. You have to pivot. When you're going back, you have to pivot. That's to keep a guy from coming down the line on you, right? And Edwin didn't know about that, so he didn't. You know, he should have been using that shotgun jab on your ass. That's what would work. All right, enough of that. So anyway, what I'm saying is that you know, it was good to see this fight because it was a high skill fight, and you guys need to appreciate, guys who are in boxing need to appreciate that. Don't be throwing around all these things. That was a good fight, man. A very competitive fight. Edwin really impressed me, and I think he's going to be a tough opponent for a lot of guys out there. Because a lot of guys don't have the defense that Shakur has, you know, and the understanding of range and stuff. So he's gonna be a you know, a tough opponent for a lot of people. He'll become world champion, I believe. You know, I love to see him against Vasily Lomachenko. I think Shakur wants to fight Lomachenko. Loma ain't the same Shakur. I know you sparred him and stuff, but Loma will work those angles on your ass. You know, and he does know how to close the distance. We saw it against what's his name? Especially late in the fight. He knows how to close the distance. And he does again. He tries to sucker you in, and then he just explodes. You know what I'm saying? He did it against Devin Haney. He did it against what's the kid's name? Jamel, not Herring. What's the kid's name? I'm gonna get his name. Shit. If you got anybody want to pop on here and say your piece, feel free to do so. You know, this is what you need. What you need is just here to you know, bless you guys and give you guys some nuggets on how good that fight actually was, technically speaking. All the strategy and game plans that was going on in that fight. That's why I wanted to, you know, share that with you guys. But yeah, the response by the public would be, you know, they'd be on Shakur. Shakur even said he let himself down. So let's talk a little bit about the future of both fighters, right? Let's talk about the future of both fighters. For Edwin De Los Santos, his future is bright. Unfortunately, the ESPN team didn't know what the fuck they were talking about, and so it was biased as hell. As you can see, the judges had the fight close. One judge had 8-4, but it was a close fight. The judges showed that, but the ESPN commentary team, as usual, be just kissing people's ass. I had it a draw for those of you now coming in. Edwin De Los Santos has a bright future. Okay, he has a bright future. Now, having faced for a championship fight against arguably one of the best 135 pounders out there, because after this fight, even though he eked it out by the skin of his teeth, like Tyson Fury did, which is ironic because Shakur was saying, "Oh, Tyson Fury could beat Muhammad Ali." He don't look that great. He don't look that great, and Tank is going to look at him and say, "You didn't look that great." In fact, some people might think that Edwin De Los Santos beat your ass, and it's possible. I mean, depending on how you judge it, you could give Edwin the fight because it was that close. But at the end of the day, he got to win. That's important. He'll move on. With respect to Devin Haney, you was talking about Devin Haney versus Lomachenko and all of that. I love to see you against Lomachenko. That's how I'll put it. I love to see you against Lomachenko because Lomachenko come with those little sneaky angles at times. He'd be sneaking around, and Lomachenko will rough your ass up. He roughed up Devin Haney. We're gonna see if you could take a roughing up, because Lomachenko got some sneaky veteran moves, man, out there. So we'd see if you would fade later on in the fight, because you've never actually had an actual fight with Lomachenko with 8-ounce gloves. You've been sparring him and so on and whatever, but we would see. So I would love to see him versus Lomachenko. Now, Mr. Devin Haney was trying to trash Shakur Stevenson. Mr. Devin Haney should be thinking about Regis Prograis, because if your ass be doing what Shakur did against Regis, they gonna dump on you too. You know what I'm saying? Because they ruthless out here. So what for Shakur Stevenson? So Edwin De Los Santos, I mean, with the pedigree he has and with the kind of opponent he has, he's going to be in the mix. Maybe he'll face Tank next. Who knows? He'll be in the mix. He's a very good fighter. Maybe Richardson Hitchens, somebody of ilk, because he's now in that conversation. Oh, wow. My battery's almost gone. So Edwin De Los Santos, this is up time for him. In fact, the fans will be like, Edwin, boy, Edwin won the fight and all of that. So like Francis Ndongo, Edwin is the beneficiary of this. Shakur is not the beneficiary of this, politically speaking. But what's the future for Shakur? A Loma fight? Any top 140, top 135 pounder. So whether it's Kambosos, Lomachenko, Jermaine Ortiz is the guy I was thinking of. Jermaine Ortiz, that's another guy who faced some top competition and needs to face top competition. That'd be another guy he could face. All the top guys at 135 he could face. Devin's not coming back down as Shakur said. So, Devin's gonna stay at 140. Shakur did well, in my opinion. He may not have been the most impressive. In fact, it was a close fight. But in my opinion, he eked it out. He left the lasting impression, which would have swayed the judges, in my opinion. But De Los Santos ain't nobody to sleep on. Skill-wise, I told you, he's more skilled than Shakur. I think he's on the level of a Shakur. He's on the level of a Devin Haney. I think he's better than Kambosos. So all those fights are available for him. Isaac Cruz, because he's in the PBC land. Isaac Cruz, the gates are going to be open for whoever. So I'm very happy to see that this guy, and I thought he was on the level of Shakur, it was indications and stuff, and he showed that he's on that level. So kudos to him. And the fact that people are even praising him for the fight and everything is really cool. ESPN team, y'all need to get fired, man. Y'all need to get fired. Y'all be talking some real crap. You know what I mean? Y'all, and Timothy Bradley, what the hell is wrong with you, boy? What the hell is wrong with you, Timothy Bradley? Man, the atrocious commentary from ESPN. Y'all don't know shit about boxing or what? Or y'all just being shaking your pom-poms on people? Man, come on. All right, so that was a close fight, and Shakur got the nod. Kudos to Shakur on getting the nod. I ain't mad at you, Shakur. I'll show you some love right now, because me personally, I think that you're a great fighter, and you're only going to learn from this experience. And for Edwin, big props to him. Much love to Edwin De Los Santos. Bro, just keep on working on your skills, honing it, and look for the next opportunity. Bro, you gonna upset the cart. You are a wild card out here. The 135 division, Jermaine Ortiz, it was a close fight with Lomachenko. Some argue that he beat Lomachenko. You got Lomachenko out there. You got you got De Los Santos now. You got Frank Martin. You got freaking Tank. You got Isa Cruz. You got freaking Zepeda, William Zepeda out here. Jojo Diaz. Man, the 135 division is flaming, flaming. You know what I'm saying? So I can't wait. I can't wait to see how these guys match up. Don't be like, you know, the fight card with the heavyweights and stuff where they, you know, people fighting people we don't want to see. Yes, we see that the card is lit in terms of names, but the names aren't facing each other. You know, so I'm not interested in that zone card that everybody be talking about. Maybe the fight that I'm most interested in is Otto Wallin versus Anthony Joshua, because Otto Wallin is again underrated, good, very good fighter, and he just beat Gassiev. So I would love to see him versus Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua saying he gonna beat up Otto Wallin. I'm laughing because his trainer is what's his name? I forgot. Oh shit. Arturo Gatti versus what is his name? I can't remember his name for nothing. But he has a hell of a trainer, Otto Wallin. And Otto Wallin, he made a name for himself, and he gonna hold his own against Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua talking about he gonna knock him out in the neck. No, motherfucker, you're not knocking out nobody. Okay. Otto Wallin's a very good fighter, and he's not gonna get stopped by you. You can say what you want, you're not stopping him. You got points decision on him, maybe, but you ain't stopping him. And it's gonna be a close fight. All right, so that's what I got for you guys. I'm what you need. We spent an hour, 25 minutes, 25 seconds. I didn't really break down everything in the fight, but as you can see from the video thing, you see De Los Santos landing a body shot on Shakur there, and De Los Santos, man, you just experience. It just comes down to experience. You know, with more experience, you'll know what to do. And this was your first rodeo. Yeah, you suffered a loss, but it's worth it. It was a learning experience for Shakur Stevenson. Also a learning experience. You knew this fight was going to be competitive. I could tell. But you gotta clean up certain things. You gotta brush up on certain things, and just keep on working your craft. You're doing well. You're a young fighter. You're like 20, 23, 24, something like that. You're young, so you got a whole set of fights ahead of you, and you're going very well. You pace yourself very well in fights. You know that distance. You know how to manage distance quite well, but you gotta set more traps. Same thing I said about De Los Santos. You got to set traps. You got to sometimes make people feel they can touch you. You got to get on force as a whole. That's what Canelo do. You know, he don't get caught flush with nothing, but you make sure that the opponent feel like he landed something. When you just making the opponent miss, you know, it's cool, but when you make him miss and you come back with something, that's the beauty of boxing. Right there. So that's all that Shakur has to work on. But he did what he had to do to win. So I can't knock the dude. And the fight was so high level. It was such high level chess. I don't know what's wrong with people out here. Y'all don't appreciate boxing, man. God damn it, man. That was a high level chess match. Why is it that everything has to land? Or no, it's not checkers. It's fucking chess. God damn it, man. Anyways. What you need. I'm out. Don't forget you can donate via PayPal because I need the money. I'm just joking. Yeah. Much love to you guys, man. Anybody else in the comment section to say anything? Nope. All right. I'm going to catch you guys later. You guys share the video if you want. I'm out. Peace.